Hello everybody, it's ID1 here in today's video. This video today, we're going to do a video today on a comparison video of Star Wars Battlefronts 1 and 2 Originals game, both of the that came for the PlayStation 2 and Windows Xbox, and then EA's games, EA's Star Wars Battlefronts 1 and 2 games. So we're going to do a comparison, and how we're going to do this, I'm going to do this comparison of heroes, maps, campaign, content, and gameplay. So I'm going to talk about each one of these games of both versions, and we're going to compare and see which ones did better, and that sort of thing. And I'm gonna do kind of a point system here, and whatever the result comes out of what I think did better, I'll give that a point, and so on. So here we go. Okay, first things first. Let's just start off with the original. With Star Wars Battlefront 1, I think for Star Wars Battlefront 1's original, obviously was like a childhood classic. I mean, like, this was like a breath of fresh air of Star Wars games. Both original versions both gave us that, but when it came to the very first game, like, I don't think I've ever played a unique style such as a unique style as this game is. Probably what I'm going to go and do first while I'm doing these videos, I'm probably going to compare the gameplay with them both. And I might be fair on both of these. I might do some fairness here a little bit on some of these. If I think both did okay on them, I'll probably like cheat a little bit and give them a point. But all depends on the result of how I'm putting it. But gameplay, so anyways, gameplay-wise is how I'm going to put this. The things that the first game did, I think for gameplay did very well. To me, it seemed very easy, basic, and then just, really enjoyable. I mean, yes, there were some, issues and things of the original. It did have some lagging and things like that. But I think one of the cool things about the gameplay of the original Battlefront's 2004's game, I think was, like the nostalgia of the unique gameplay style that the Star Wars game, that Battlefront game brought us. And I think that the original gameplay of this was not only epic, but like when it came to like the shooting part of it for Battlefront, it was almost like super simple. Like in the original Star Wars Battlefront game, like when you would play, like the campaigns and like, these other modes, the way the shooting style made you kind of feel invincible because like there were certain things you can do that like, but you always have that one, that one AI enemy that gets kind of that lucky shot, and it's like, okay. And some things in the gameplay are kind of tricky, or kind of there are some kind of wonky things in here because, like, when you first like start a match, which is kind of interesting, before you get to where you're about to go fight, you'll notice on the screen or on the game and stuff where you'll have a group a group of sometimes between 200 soldiers or 250 depending on the map location. Sometimes you'll notice when you're getting there before, like you'll notice like your troops are like deteriorating like soldiers. I'm like, how are we losing soldiers already? Like, nobody shot each other yet. So like, what's the deal here? Um, but like you'll notice like little things like that, or sometimes characters will be hard to shoot because I'll see some of them just like somersaulting like no other, like they're faster than the blaster shot can be. And then I don't know, but like and also I find it very interesting. This is another thing I was going to give this original one here a point. Is that the first game, when you get into like vehicles and stuff like that, I've noticed whenever what's kind of funny is like depending on the vehicle, especially for a Prairie Walker, for example, I like the fact when you shoot, especially in the first game, when you shoot at like enemies and stuff, the amount of how they fly in the air when you like blast them, and they just like shoot across the field, shoot across anywhere. It's just like I find it hilarious and stuff. Just watching them fly in the air, especially when you throw grenades and stuff. They're like some of them like that too, but I find it really unique and stuff. And I think that's why the gameplay for the first game is going to get the 1 point there. Um, it's just that type of style. You don't see that in the very first game that 2015's did, where it had that, that moment, fun, that little fun part about it. And then, of course, the other gameplay about it, this is probably what's going to give EA 2015's game here, is like the conquest battles was not in this, which, that's kind of a big thing from the Battlefront game was the Galactic Conquest battles. And then taking those out was just kind of like, what are you doing there, man? But you capture your command post and all this other fun stuff. And, you also had your other ones, which was Galactic Conquest, where you had these planet. I think that's what they called that mode. Yeah. Galactic Conquest, where you had these planets that you could choose from where you wanted to battle, and if you won that battle, or however many battles you won, depending on if you were the Empire, or the Rebels, in the CIS, or the Republic, for example. Depending on how many wins you won for the battles, you could destroy the planet, and that planet's just like done. Like, you don't really get that in like the EA ones. Same goes for like the instant action gameplays, where for instant action you can choose, however many planets you want to fight on, and then you just play down the list that you chose. That's another thing that is kind of interesting that the first game didn't quite have. I mean, the first game, of the 2015 game I played, yeah, the token battle thing's kind of interesting. You get all the tokens, you score 100 points. Yeah, it's kind of different, unique, but it's not quite like, the original brought out for like those game modes at least. So that's why that one's going to get a point. Now, for game modes on the first one here. Now, game modes on the first one here, on both of these. Now, I think I'm going to give both of these kind of a point here, because I'm kind of do some fairness here with these. Now, the game modes, like I said, on the original, you had instant action, you had your Galactic Conquest, and you had your historical campaigns, of course. But like those two game modes were like unique and just like enjoyable. And I kind of find it kind of cool. Interesting from like the first game where in the first game, you didn't really get to be a Jedi. You had, there was Jedi in there, but you didn't get to play as him because, like when the Jedi would come into the battlefield and stuff, your literally main goal was, I remember whenever we'd had one in the battlefield, our main goal was to try to get rid of it. Like, how do we kill the Jedi? Or the Sith. But, there was a lot of things that we had to figure out how to do, and there were ways to get rid of them. There are. It's just it sometimes kind of depends on the location. Because I remember that I had to go. Now, if we're on the best spin, the landing zone, my best thing I always normally did if I wanted to get rid of Darth Vader or anybody was to take one of the sand troopers or whatever that have a rocket and shoot the missile like above under his feet and stuff, and he'll fly in the air if he flies over the landing zone and falls down forever. But another option I've done as far as killing the Jedi and stuff was on the Tatooine on Dune Sea, the speeder bikes. I would use those to try to run them over. That was another option. A little fun, little challenging things like that. I feel like are kind of unique. Now, the 2015 EA ones, I've kind of played a little around with some of the game modes. The token battle's all right. Survival's different. The co-op modes aren't too bad. They're some of them are kind of wonky, and then there's some stuff in there that's kind of outrageous, just not great. The multiplayer of it, I'm not a fan of. I think there's a lot of it that they should have worked on, and some of it's really kind of wonky there too. But I think I'm going to give both of these a point, because the first one did kind of have some different things, but when it came to the conquest, the capture the command posts and stuff, that was something that that kind of has different here. So I'll give the EA ones a point, and then that one a point. Okay, the next thing we're going to talk about here is the campaigns. The campaigns of both the first two originals. Obviously, the first one kind of contained, stuff from... Excuse me, guys. It's original, prequel, somewhat prequel, and you also have your original ones. And then, and the second one that 2005 came out with, yes, you had a campaign, but you also had other options. You had obviously all three of your prequel story campaign ones in your original, but you had majority of their options in the campaigns. So if you can do space battles, you can do heroes and your Jedi versus Sith kind of heroes versus villains kind of battles and assault battles and stuff like that. Obviously, you still had capture the command post, stuff like that. But they also added other unique game modes as well. You had your capture the flag and stuff like that. Of course, I know the original first one didn't have that, but that's kind of an add-on there too. Now for the first game, didn't quite have, for the first game, didn't quite have a campaign at all. They had a multiplayer deal, which, it's just multiplayer, but wasn't the greatest though. But I think because of the campaign that the both first original ones had, I'm going to give that one a point. Because the campaigns on the original ones were unique. Not only unique, but they were very enjoyable and playable. And you had your favorite preference of what map you like to play on, and what was your favorite. Our next thing we're going to talk about is maps. Okay. Now, maps on both of these versions. Now, I feel like when it comes to the original, both of 1 and 2, the first 2 originals had very unique maps. And I think I enjoyed most of those on the original. I don't think there's one I didn't really enjoy. There's probably some that are kind of like iffy on, but I really enjoyed most of them that they had. And then of course your space battles. Of course, I think there's a few maps that I like with the space battle ones, which are bad. Now the space battles in EA, for example, now not too bad. It kind of does give it, that original form, but there is some. I think there was some issues from the first game, and then I think the second game did a little bit better. But I think I'm gonna give this one here kind of once we. Both versions kind of had their own set of unique maps. They're all kind of enjoyable, but I think what comes to better, I think the originals really did better than the newer versions. So I'm going to give both of those a point there. And here's our next thing as far as heroes. Now, in Battlefront 2 original game, what was really cool about Battlefront Heroes and the heroes and villains in that one, each character in Battlefront of 2's original, each character kind of had their own special unique ability. Because, if you remember, for example, majority of the Jedis or Sith, they all had some of them had the ability of throwing a lightsaber. Some of them have just the force push ability. Yoda had both force pull and force push. Darth Vader has saber throw and force choke. Count Dooku had both force, lightning, and force choke. Same with Sidious. Anakin has force choke and then also force saber throw. And then, of course, same with the Jedis, like Ayla Secure, she had both saber throw and force push. So, stuff like that, they had their own couple unique abilities. And then when they added Kit Fisto to the game, he had kind of a different unique ability. He did have saber throw, and then he had an orb force ability where he throw it at you. And the way he kind of formed it was almost kind of like Naruto's Rasengan, kind of like thing. I was like, kind of cool. And then of course, they also had uh, Ventress, who was also in this, which was kind of Azaz Ventress, which was also in this. And I kind of thought her ability was kind of different. Of course, so the nunchuck lightsabers was kind of silly, but I kind of really wish they would have done like the Clone War kind of like adaptation. I kind of really wish the second game adapted the I kind of really wish the second game adapted the Force lightning that she had in the Clone Wars, which would have been kind of cool. But I think that's what the thing about that. And then of course the first game, when you're playing a hero character on the very first game, you're kind of stuck with playing with that character. Now in the very first game of not first game, but like in the second game, if your character died, you can choose a different one. Well, when you're playing in the battlefield, you don't get that option. You're stuck with playing with that character. That was one I didn't really like. And then I think in the Battlefront 2 2017's game, they kind of brought some of that back. And so, because you notice, like, if your character does die, you can have the option to either choose a Jedi or a shooter character. That's just it there on that. Now, I think what do I think did better as far as combat? I think both do all right on combat. I know the very first game for 15's game, it did okay. But I think I'm gonna give a point to the first original one. Just because I think I think they did okay. I think the first original one did okay with its own unique ability and things too. Of course, though, with the original, they made it enjoyable. Now, with the original first game, not original game, but the Battlefront game of the 2015's game, there's just things that they needed to work on, and they kind of did a little bit with the second game. So, I guess I can kind of give the second game at least a 0.1. But I think that's about it. Now, as far as combat-wise, like I said, the second game of the 17's game did okay because they've done some improvements quite a bit. They even made it to where you can kind of collide lightsabers now in this 17 one, which is kind of neat. But I think that's going to be it, guys. The winner is obviously going to be the original. 5 out of 3 in this. There's just some things that the newer versions just didn't quite have that unique aesthetic like the originals had, that they've missed out on. And I'm sure there's reasons, and some of it they just didn't want to listen to their fan base. So, post a comment section below and tell me what your favorite Star Wars Battlefront versions are, and if you kind of agree with some of the terms. If there's some things I missed, and I don't know, comment section below, let me know. Like this like button, and if you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit the share button as always. And I'll see you on the next video, and goodbye.